We've been having these virtual forums now for, since beginning of March, about every other week. And today we wanted to not only welcome you back for the new semester, but we wanted to talk about your wellness. Whether you're a student or whether you're a faculty member or a staff member, we care about you, and we wanted to bring some of our supportive services here with us today so we could talk a little about your wellness and make sure that you are your optimum self as you're trying to pursue your educational goals. And we wanted to make sure you are your divinely inspired self if you're one of those faculty and support and admin who's helping all of our students here at Fresno City College. So welcome, everyone. With me today, I have some exciting friends that are going to be joining us. First and foremost, I want to thank my interpreter, Jade. We're going to be having another interpreter, Mercedes. Thank you for being here with us. Dr. Sam Monsanto is our Psych Services Coordinator. He'll be joining me today, along with some interns, Chelsea, and I'm going to tell everybody's first name today. Intern Chelsea, intern Monica, and then of course we have the newly Dr. Massey joining us today. And we also have another intern by the name of Stephanie. All of these people are here for you, and Dr. Massey is going to talk a little bit about how you can access the services, and Dr. Montoyo and our interns are going to talk about the types of services that are available if you're a student at Fresno City College. And not to be outdone, also joining us today is Vice Chancellor Julie Mosier. Many of you know her. She is the Vice Chancellor over our human resources, and she's going to talk a little bit about our EAB program that can help faculty, staff, and faculty, staff, and administrators as employees. And while we all have been sitting at home and working from home and living in a pandemic, we've all too often joked about wine time or retail therapy or talking about or some of the unhealthy ways we've dealt with stress. And all of us have stress, even me. And so today we're going to talk a little about the things that we do to relieve our stress. It's important to reach out and talk to friends, but it's also important to talk to professionals. And I think we all know, because we're educated folks, that it's important to take care of your mental health. So today we're going to talk about reaching out and getting the help that you need during this pandemic. But I'd also like to take a moment to talk about some of the health opportunities we have here at Fresno City College. So if you're still looking for a class, or even if you're a staff member and you're interested in yoga, we have PE 17, which is a fundamental exercise and yoga class for strength and durability and how we can improve our concentration through yoga. We also have circuit training, which is PE 9. This is designed specifically for individuals at home. And then, of course, we also have PE 6, which is our health and fitness class, which explores various activities to develop your own personal workout. So regardless if it's taking a class or finding student services or working with our psych services under Dr. Montoyo and our interns, or working with HR and learning about EAB, Fresno City College cares about your health and well-being. So thank you for joining us. So Mark, let's introduce Sam and get the presentation going.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And like Dr. Goldsmith had highlighted, I am the coordinator of psychological services for the district. My primary hub is Fresno City College, and all the interns that we have with us today and our postdoc, they're people that will be working with you clinically. You may see them on campus doing outreach. We are doing outreach online as well. My team will get to that. And we do offer many, many different services for our students, and they are free services as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me be here. And my team, I'm going to hand it over to them to go through our PowerPoint that they've created that highlight some of our specific services. And we also are going to give you some kind of psychoeducation, if you will, some coping techniques today that you can start implementing if you are going through some stress. As Dr. Goldsmith said, we all are going through stress, I think, during this time. It is not uncommon or abnormal now to be feeling stressed, to be feeling sad, to feel angry. It's very normal to have these feelings during what we are all going through, whether that's COVID-19 or the social climate that we are all navigating right now. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to my staff to walk you through some of the services and some of the coping skills that we have for you today. So thank you so much.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. Okay, Mark, we can go to the next slide if you're okay with that. Okay, so the current services that we are able to offer, we did go remote like many of the other departments on campus. So currently we are able to offer 4 to 6 sessions of free individual therapy to our students via phone or Zoom. That's if you are a new student to psych services, you haven't come to see us before. If you've been to see us before, we usually will have it to be like 2 to 4 sessions just to kind of do a little check-in with you. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in spring and fall semesters. So we are open to doing therapy at any point during that time. We can schedule. So if you have time between your classes, or you know there's a particular day that will work better for you, it's just something that you're going to let us know. So we also are working on offering unlimited free group therapy via Zoom. We're getting our groups started. They should be going in the late end of August, beginning of September. The case management we also offer, that's to connect you with other therapists and resources. So let's say that you do engage with our services and we're like, okay, you are fantastic. I am very glad that you came to us, but it looks like you wouldn't be a good fit for our clinic for these other reasons. Let me go ahead and refer you to some other clinicians in the Valley. And then we can have a check-in so that I'm not just like, here's your references, bye. You know, I want to make sure that you as students are getting to the people that you need. So we would do like little half-hour case management appointments just to check in that you are getting in touch with those resources that you need to get to. Also, we are really ramping up our online outreach. We've been doing that since we went remote, but we've really done a lot of it in the last few months, especially in June and July with our talking circles, focusing on Black Lives Matter and DACA Dreamer students. So definitely providing some good information towards students on mental health with online outreach, the talking circles, and our social media. We did start a Facebook and a TikTok. We're working on making those as fun as possible. And then we're also looking into offering research studies that students can participate in so that we can start kind of getting Fresno City College's name out there as a producer of research with college students. Because sometimes it just takes putting that option out there and people will be like, oh yeah, I'm happy to participate in this research. And your participation could end up in a really good paper that gets published in a lot of different journal articles. You never know. So the next slide would be ready there. There we go. So before, when we were on campus, when we did have a clinic on campus, we were able to offer things like walk-in crisis service. So if you were on campus and we were open and you were really going through it, you could just walk straight up to us and we would do what we could to help you. Obviously, since we're not on campus, we can't offer that right now. We can't offer couples therapy. And our in-person stuff has also, of course, been massively turned back down. So there's like no in-person group therapy. There's no in-person outreach events. Whereas we used to have those twice a month when we were on campus. So we are ready when we come back, whenever we're able to come back to campus, we are ready to go with some of those more fun in-person events. But in the meantime, we're offering a lot of that online. And also we used to offer assessment. So if you were feeling like maybe there was something getting in the way of you being the best student that you could be, and you went to maybe the DSPNS department, and they tested you and they said, you know, why don't we send you to psych services and we'll see maybe what else could be going on there. We used to be able to offer testing for that. Right now, we're not able to do that because of the COVID-19 changes and us being remote. So if you or a friend needs immediate help or immediate therapy, if you're in a crisis, you can call the crisis lines that are listed on our website, which I will show you at the very end of our presentation how to access our website. And So right now we can't do the immediate stuff that we used to be able to do, but we can offer regular free therapy via the phone or Zoom, depending on what you like. And we're working on offering groups as well, and a lot of our online research and outreach that we can put out for students. So we can go to the next slide and a different intern will present.
Okay, so now we're gonna shift some gears and talk about the psychoeducation component that Dr. Montano briefly shared we would discuss. So first and foremost, I kind of wanted to touch briefly on some feelings and emotions that one might experience during this transition period. So especially if this is your first semester, students are going to struggle with just balancing, more freedom or autonomy. Maybe this is more freedom than you've ever, gotten. And then also being able to balance that, especially if you're coming out of high school, college classes might be a lot harder. So definitely be aware that that might contribute to some levels of stress. Another thing is that you might notice anxiety and depression may begin to increase, especially if this is your first time moving out. You might feel less supported by specific family members and friends, and it's just being able to adjust to this new territory, to this new transition. The other thing to take note is that community college students are more likely than university students to be employed or supporting their families while they're attending school. So if you are helping to take care of specific family members or you're working during school, just know and acknowledge that that might also contribute to an increase in levels of stress. And so for the next slide. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about just signs and ways that we can acknowledge when stress is left unmanaged. So within our physical health, when we notice that stress is left unmanaged, this might impact our sleep schedule. So we might actually develop a very dysregulated sleep schedule. So for an example, say you used to go to bed around 10 or 11 p.m., but now you're finding yourself not falling asleep until 2 or 3 a.m. You're having a really hard time falling asleep. That might be a sign of unmanaged stress. Or, say you're going to sleep at the same time, but you recognize that you're waking up maybe every 1 to 2 hours, so you're having a really hard time staying asleep. Also be aware that that might be caused due to stress. Another thing is that stress definitely impacts our muscular system. So with that being said, you might experience more muscle tension. You might feel a lot more heaviness in your shoulders. Maybe you're clenching your jaw a lot more. So just be aware of that. Stress also impacts, frequent headaches, stomach issues, and just really increases, level of fatigue. Another component that stress does impact is our psychological health. So we might start to feel a lot more nervous this semester. Maybe you've made a specific decision all your life, and now you're very apprehensive about making this decision. So you're very worried, you're very irritable, maybe you're very sad, or you're feeling very hopeless or helpless, or you notice you're very isolated. I know, especially during this, stay-at-home order, that feeling of isolation can start to creep up. So just be aware of it. You can FaceTime, video chat, friends and family members. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but just keep that in mind as well. If you do start to notice just high increased feelings of isolation, may also be due to unmanaged stress. And then last but not least, recognizing that you've lost motivation or even enthusiasm for things that you used to enjoy. So maybe you love to draw. And once you realize, you take your pen to the paper, you realize you're not having that same thrill or joy of drawing. Also, just be mindful of that as well, that stress might be impacting that loss of enthusiasm. And then last but not least, unmanaged stress may impact us behaviorally. So ways that we can see this is changes in our eating patterns. So for an example, say you're under eating, okay? Say you've had such a busy day and it's 6 p.m. and you've realized like, oh, wow, it's 6 and I haven't even had breakfast or lunch. So take that into account that, the demands of the day may impact under eating behaviors, but perhaps you're overeating. Maybe food is very comforting for you, so you find yourself just eating larger amounts. Just be very mindful of that. And then poor nutrition. So maybe you find yourself wanting every single meal to be very salty or very fatty. Be mindful that that also might be a sign of just unmanaged stress. And then last but not least, you might notice that, due to high feelings of anxiety or depression, you may find yourself using substances to cope with these negative feelings. Use substances as maybe a celebratory thing, after or during the weekend, but if you find yourself wanting to get high before the day, or you find yourself wanting to take a drink after every single day or after a long days of work, just be very mindful of that. That might be due to signs of unmanaged stress.
Donuts and wine are never the answer. It's good for celebration, but too many donuts, too much wine. We joke about those things, but I know a lot of our friends are, they're getting the COVID-5 or the COVID-15. And so that's why it's so important that we have these conversations with all of you so we can see some of these signs of stress, whether it's sleep problems. So what do we do when we are experiencing these sort of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So our next slides will kind of go briefly touch on just ways we can really not only be aware, but manage how we can take care of ourselves. And, stress is a natural factor, and it could be very, motivating. It can allow us to, get a task done. But when we do realize, say you're having sleep issues, say you're experiencing a lot more sadness, and maybe you have changes in your eating patterns, these red flags may add up. So it's just really good to be able to, take care of yourself. And so our next slides, the other interns will go ahead and share ways that we can manage that.
Okay, well, first things first, getting good sleep is really important. So if you're going to be napping during the day, you should probably take 30-minute naps and try doing it before 5 p.m. Limit your caffeine intake. So stop drinking caffeine after 5, and realize that there's drinks that have caffeine, not just coffee. There's soda and other teas. So setting a bedtime routine is really important. So if you have to wake up at 6 in the morning and you have to make sure you get 8 hours of sleep at night. So maybe you have to wake up at 6, go to bed at 10 p.m. So creating a bedtime routine is also going to be really helps you go to sleep. So a bedtime routine can look like getting chamomile tea, taking a hot shower, and then dimming your lights. And the more you do that, the more your body gets associated with that routine as bedtime. So going to sleep might be a little bit much easier, or it might help you to go to sleep faster. So also creating, doing things that are relaxing before bedtime. So again, avoid caffeinated teas, use essential oils. Lavender oil, scents that are relaxing can help you kind of get ready for bed and hopefully clears your mind and stuff. It also helps you to journal things down, especially those thoughts that you're having before that are keeping you awake at night. So you're having lots of thoughts or worries and stressors. So it's good to just write those down before going to bed, because it really helps you put that away so that tomorrow in the morning you can worry about those things. Also, no screen time before bed. So watching too much TV keeps your mind awake. So it really impacts your sleep. So no TV before bedtime. Dimming your lights. If you go to bed and you can't sleep, wait 15 minutes. And if 15 minutes have passed and you really can't go to bed, get out of your bed and go do something that's quiet and that's restful in another room until you feel tired. Other things that can help you go to sleep are supplements like melatonin. However, check with your doctor first to see if that certain supplements like melatonin are beneficial for you. And then next slide.
Hey, Monica, before you go back to the slide, I just want to tell you that the journaling of thoughts is so powerful. I know when I was in college, and believe it or not, this still happens to me as college president, I'm still worried about that test I have to take the next day, whether it's a meeting or, yeah, I remember when I was in college, I had a lot of anxiety around tests. And so if I wrote that journal and talked about it, just get it out, then I didn't play it over and over in my mind. That is such a great tip. And it's not just for students. I'm thinking of a lot of our faculty who are out there who may have some thoughts that they need to journal. Please try it, because it really does work. Really does.
So you don't lay in bed thinking about, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that.
A laundry list of things. Yes,
so getting it down on paper and putting it on the side so you can just lay down and not think about those things. So that is a great technique.
Great advice. Great advice. Thank you.
Other stress reduction exercises you can do are physical skills. So there's breathing exercises. So they're like diaphragmatic breathing, or I call it the 4-second rule kind of breathing. So you inhale for 4 seconds and you release for 4, and you can repeat that breathing exercise. There's muscle relaxation. So you can kind of start from your toes. You can, if you're laying in bed, and you can clench your toes really tight and then release, and then kind of move up your body. So it could be your calves, tighten your calves and release your calves. You can tighten it for 5 seconds or whatever is comfortable for you. And by the time you kind of move up your body, you're kind of experiencing some relaxation, and you're kind of releasing some tension that you have in your body. And sometimes it even is really helpful to do that even while you're trying to go to sleep, because you may end up falling asleep doing that activity. Also, guided imagery is really helpful, because you can imagine yourself going into the beach, something really that keeps you calm. So if I'm having a stressful day, or if I'm having a hard time going to sleep, I could kind of do guided imagery by maybe imagining myself at the beach, enjoying the waves or the sand, and kind of picturing myself in a pleasant environment, so that it helps reduce some anxiety or stress. And you can even do that in the daytime for even 30 seconds or for a minute, because that is also a very healthy habit, because it helps you cope with stressors of your day-to-day life. Other things that you can do to reduce some stress is kind of distracting yourself. So you can name 5 things that you see in your environment, and then maybe name 4 things that you're feeling, 3 things that you're hearing, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you taste. Other mental skills, identify and challenge negative statements. So instead of saying negative things to yourself, because they're not very helpful, they also increase our stress and our worry. So maybe replacing those statements as positive statements, and think about your cheerleaders in your life. So it could be somebody in your life that not only motivates you, but also encourages you, that says positive things to you. So think about those people in your life that are cheering you on. And also celebrate your success. So pat yourself on the back, Don't be so hard on yourself if you're not achieving those goals. Definitely pat yourself on the back. Reward yourself for your effort, even if there's no results. Take time for personal reflection throughout the day, like journal or meditate. Yoga is a very good way to meditate. And those are really good skills that you can utilize to reduce some stress.
Monica, thank you so much. All of those were very, very useful. And I think so many of us are missing our socializing with people. I know Elias out there has a question, and he wanted to say that he's glad that he saw this, because isolating, he misses people. So I think it's going to be so important that we communicate with one another and become our own internal cheerleaders. So that's really, really helpful, and continue to reach out to one another and practice these stress reduction exercises, and share them with your friends, Elias. this might be a good opportunity for you to communicate with some people that you've missed. So thank you for that comment. Really appreciate it, Elias.
Before we
Hey,
go on to the next slide, I would also like to add to your point, Dr. Goldsmith, in regards to the internal cheerleader. When I would give this presentation in class, when I used to do these in-person outreaches, I would say, think to yourself of the person that is just hype for your success. Like, is that your grandma? Is that your aunt? Is that your, you know, your little cousin who's like, I'm only 5 and you are just so smart. You're going to college. You know, like the little people in your life that just like fill you with smiles. Like I asked students to give me examples, and one woman, like she raised her hand. She said, I can tell my grandma, like I can call my grandma and be like, Grandma, I had a really rough week. And she's like, yeah, but what's your grade right now? And she's like, my grade's a B. And she's like, yeah, my grandbaby's getting a B. My grandbaby works hard for that B. She is working. And just like having that person that you connect back with to be like, yeah. And that person that's hyped for your success. So Elias, I know that you asked and said that you were really missing out on that personal connection. Find someone that's hyped for you, and maybe you can be the hype man for somebody else.
That's
because a lot of this stuff, we need to reach out to each other and be what we need. And then other people are more likely to reflect that back to you. So if Elias, if you can reach out and be that hype man for somebody, you're probably going to get a hype man right back, man.
That's right. We know you do get what you put out in life, you know. So if you are that positive inspiration and telling people, you know, atta boy, atta girl, you know, I really liked how you did this, and you know, telling people I believe in you, and that's why, you know, so often when we have these opportunities, I do try to end and begin with telling students, I may not know you, but I love you because I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you're listening and watching this right now, and so you got to be that example of what we're trying to do to make the world a better place. And it starts one person at a time, right, Dr. Massey? All right. Who's up next? Sam?
I do want to say one thing really quick too on that slide.
Sure.
Most of these exercises that Monica is highlighting today, like the breathing exercise, muscle relaxation, the guided imagery.
Yeah.
You can find some actual resources on our website, videos and sound clips where we walk you through some of these techniques. You can also easily go onto Google and search it. You can get on YouTube, search it, and there'll be videos. There's some actual really, really good quality videos on YouTube where you can have someone walk you through these exercises. So utilize that. I think one other thing that I think is just so important for college students, and pretty much my whole career has been in university and college counseling centers. And I think under mental skills, when Monica highlighted, celebrate your successes, that is so important.
Yeah.
Because of all the stress you can be under, all wearing as students, especially community college students, right? You may be taking care of a family, or you may be working a job. There are so many hats that college students wear. You may be an athlete. You know, there's so many things you wear. Remember, on this journey towards graduation, it's celebrating the successes, and they may be so small at sometimes, but to own those, celebrate and honor them is going to give you that boost to break through the stress. So it's such an important thing to be aware of. Celebrate those successes, even if it is in a very easy homework assignment, or maybe got out of bed and went to class. That's a win, right? Celebrate those wins.
You know, Dr. Monsanto, you're absolutely right. And we always think the big wins, the graduation, the certificate, the degree, but actually that is the big win. But there's all these wins in between. Showing up, you know, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, showing up for Zoom class. All of those are wins, because there's a lot of people who are just stuck and they haven't decided to enroll in a class. And you know what? I know we're getting close on time, because I do want to talk about our faculty, because our faculty are some of our biggest cheerleaders for our students. And, you know, I want to talk about how we can continue to support them as well. So who's up next, Dr. Montano, after this slide?
So we're going to talk a little bit about some other ways to reduce stress as well. So there's two ways to do that. That's by being more active and also by being less active. And it's important to balance how active we are with the times that we take to rest, because rest is equally as important in meeting our goals and accomplishing the things that we want and managing our stress as it is to be active. So exercising 20 to 30 minutes per day. And this doesn't have to be going to the gym. I know it's hard to get to the gym right now. A lot of them are closed again. But, you know, there's a lot of videos on YouTube. You can find videos with different types of exercise that you like and engage with those. You can also walk your dog or go for walks on your own, go hiking, engage in yoga, which is great physical exercise, but also really good for reducing stress. You can go out for a bike ride. You can play games with your friends, your family, your roommates, whoever you're able to be in contact with right now. And if you live alone or you're not able to engage with the people in your house, there's a lot of things you can do online for free. You can play chess with somebody. You can find different games to play that are free. And anything else that increases your heart rate. So any movement is going to be positive right now. And we're sitting at our desks all day a lot of the time. So it's important to remember that we need to get up and move around every half an hour if we're able to. If not, you know, every couple of hours. And then relaxing. So make sure you schedule time to actually relax and sit and be calm and take a break to recharge yourself. And whatever that looks like for you, whether that's reading a book for fun or, you know, doing exercise, make sure you take some time to give yourself a break and use your sense of humor, right? Laughing is the best medicine, right? So when you laugh, you reduce stress, you feel better, it can elevate your mood, it can help you to kind of distract yourself from anything that might be causing you stress. And you can listen to music. Getting a massage might be hard right now, but you can talk to people about what you're stressed out about and connect with the positive people in your life who enhance your life. So find ways to connect and stay part of your community.
Well, Chelsea, I really liked you talked again about connecting, and we're connecting differently in today's world with Zoom and, you know, Microsoft team meetings and doing all those things. But I really like the fact that you talked about we got to get up and move. And I'm trying to remind myself, so for the faculty and staff are there, and even the students, make sure you mark time on your calendar to get up and move. And we, like I said, we have some classes for you, the circuit training PE 9. We can incorporate that, or health and fitness PE 6, looking at your personal routine. All of those opportunities, whether it's yoga and doing things like putting time in your calendar to get up and move around is so important. So thank you, Chelsea, and thank you for being an intern here with us. Appreciate it. Who's next?
So I'm going to do this one as well.
Okay.
We wanted to talk a little bit about motivation because we are in such unique times where we are transitioning to different learning environments. We're working from home. Everybody's trying to make a lot of adjustments. And that can mean that we lose a little bit of our motivation. We get stressed out, we get anxious about things. And so just to think about ways that we can be creative and flexible as we're making adjustments and decrease motivation and increase stress or anxiety during these times are normal. So if you're struggling with these things, then don't feel like you're alone. A lot of people are, and there's a lot of skills that you can put into use to be able to deal with that. Some things you can do are like create a vision board. So you can use art supplies, craft materials, magazines, anything you have at home to create a vision board near your workspace to remind yourself what it is you're working towards. What are your goals? How do you want to accomplish them? Find an accountability partner. So we're talking about connecting again, right? So connect with somebody who might need to be held accountable. If you're feeling the same way, you guys can encourage each other. That will help with motivation. Journaling, so you can reflect on your thoughts and feelings, remind yourself why your goals are important, remind yourself about the goals you've set, take that time to reflect and be engaged with the process, and find motivational quotes online that will inspire you and allow you to continue to reach your goals. You can put those up in your workspace, put them on your vision board. There's a lot of ways that you can utilize those resources that are out there on the internet to keep yourself motivated. And next slide. All right, and so ways to kind of maintain your motivation. Routine is really important. So routine helps with everything: stress reduction, managing anxiety, reaching your goals, enhancing your motivation. So set those priorities and focus on what's most important to you. Be comfortable saying no. Right now, it might be difficult to manage your time. You might have to set different boundaries than you've had to set in the past. And you might need to prioritize time for yourself a little bit more frequently, and that's okay. Find ways to do that. Identify tasks that you can share or delegate. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're thinking, I can't do all of this, there's no way, and you completely lose your motivation, ask for help. Find out if somebody can help you, if there's somebody else who can take part in those tasks and give the ability to manage your time a little bit better. Because good time management will help you support your productivity. Map out your day, your week, and your month ahead of time if you can, and set those small achievable goals and be open to adjusting. Right now is a time of adjustment. We don't know what's going to happen. So make sure that you're setting goals, but know that maybe you're not going to be able to reach them the way you originally planned. So think about new ways that you might be able to get there. Break things up into small, manageable sections. And keep track of your to-do list. Check off each item you accomplish. Pat yourself on the back. That's important. Remind yourself that, hey, maybe I didn't get through my whole list, but I got through 4 things today. Maybe I'll get to 5 things tomorrow. And then ask for help. Reach out to your friends, your family, student services. We're here for you. We're all going through this together, and we want to make sure that you know that there's resources, and we want to be here to support you.
I think that is great advice. I like the idea of making lists and doing to-do lists and breaking it down into steps, because on your to-do list, if you just have, get your doctorate degree, that's one box, but there's a lot of steps to getting that. And I know that many of you, our interns, are on the path to do that right now. So again, thank you for being here and sharing this good news for you. I think we have one more slide coming up before we talk to Vice Chancellor Mosier.
Yes, one more slide.
All right.
So I'm just going to talk real briefly. We'll wrap the psychoeducation portion up, but I really wanted to highlight on something that I think is so critical, and it's this idea of self-care. So we really consider self-care this umbrella term, but if you really think about it, especially if you're taking care of others, you have to take care of yourself. So I know there's that famous line, if you've ever been in an airplane, the stewardess will tell you, once that oxygen mask falls, they always say, put yours on first before you put someone else's on. So there are so many components to us and so many different roles. I'm just going to touch briefly on our physical and emotional health and how self-care, we can implement different self-care strategies for these specific aspects. So for our physical health, something that we should aim for in ensuring to take care of ourselves is to really aim for a healthy-ish diet. They really say food is mood. So what you eat really does impact how you feel. So just be aware, if you take a drink that's a drink that's very sugary, and you realize, after you've taken the drink that you feel tired or sluggish, just be mindful. Maybe you want to avoid drinks that decrease your energy, and aim for foods that increase your energy. So really try eating 3 well-balanced meals, as well as 2 snacks in between. Energy we thrive off of from food, so make sure you're maintaining a well-balanced meal. And then especially in this Central Valley heat, make sure you're drinking lots and lots of water. The other thing that you want to strive for, just to make sure you're taking care of yourself, is really clean out your space. So I know right now, working remotely, we have our own little area, our own little desk. Maybe it's on a couch, in the kitchen, wherever it is. Really try to organize your study area, so it really does help you stay focused. That way, if you need something, you know exactly where it is, so you don't become very frustrated or irritable because you're having a really hard time finding it. The last component I wanted to talk about was our emotional health. So how we can implement different self-care strategies is, first and foremost, set really clear boundaries with your own time and energy. Acknowledge that you have full control of what you put your energy toward and also what you put your time to. So with that being said, like Chelsea said, really surround yourself with positive people who inspire you, who send you really uplifting messages. Really spend time with these people. That will also contribute to, your emotional health. And then last but not least, really reject this idea of perfectionism. A huge growth process is when we make mistakes. So really being able to just honor that journey.
Well, I like that a lot, Stephanie. And I'll tell you, oftentimes I see it even with my faculty and some of my administrators I work with. We get caught in this analysis paralysis. We want it to be perfect. And sometimes you got to meet a deadline. So whether it's a paper or you're showing up for a project, sometimes you got to get it done. So don't continue to, have that negative self-doubt. Is this good enough? Is this good enough? Is this good enough? Sometimes it's an assignment. It's an important assignment, but it is not your life's work. So same thing to our interns and many of our faculty who are working on their dissertation. It's important to get your dissertation done, but you know what? That's not your life's work. The issue is to get it done so you can continue on to the next one. So I want to thank all of our interns who joined us today, along with Dr. Monsanto. I think it really kind of shows that we are here for you. You can see here the psych services are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. We are going to talk after this. We're going to open it back up. We're going to go to one of our favorite interns, Dr. Massey. She's going to go through the website to show us actually live how do we do this. But you can contact us. There's a phone number there, 443-8687. And of course, you can email at psychservices@sccc.edu. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with us today. I'm going to pivot, but I'm going to ask all of you to stay with me while we heard about what we can do, which is great news for our students and great. All this information is great for folks like me as well. But I asked Vice Chancellor Moser if she could come and share for some of our faculty and staff. We have some additional services because we're paying our insurance dues, and this is part of it. So Mark, if you could unmute Julie, and let's see if we can get her slides up and we talk a little bit about EAB. Thank you, Ms. Moser, for joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you very much for having me. It was wonderful to hear everything from our psychological services department, because all of those tips and tricks to manage stress and to stay healthy, both physically and mentally during these challenging times, are good for our employees as well. And so I hope that our employees who are listening today paid very close attention to some of those items. In particular, setting a routine, stress management, setting clear boundaries. A lot of our employees are trying to do double and triple duty. They're trying to be parents and teach at home their own kids while they're trying to teach here our students. And so it's really important that you can separate your work time from your home time and your family time. So Mark, if you can pull up the presentation, I wanted to share with our employees some of the resources that we have available for you, similar to what our psych services department offers for our students. So for all of our employees that are on our benefits, we do have our employee assistance program through Halcyon. And Mark, if you'll go to the next slide. Halcyon provides for our employees confidential, professional referrals and face-to-face counseling, although right now it is mostly remote counseling, for an array of personal and work-related concerns. So right now, I know a lot of our employees are dealing with stress and anxiety, possibly depression. And so you can call or go on their website, and I'll give you that information in just a minute. And you can get help from licensed counselors who will help you deal with and give you some of those same tips and tricks that our psych services just gave to our students for managing stress and depression. But that's not all that they do. They also provide referrals and consultations and other resources that you may need for substance abuse issues, legal services, child care referrals, financial planning, elder and adult care referrals, like I said, financial assistance, referrals for pet care, home care, legal assistance. And during this time, we have been sending out weekly reminders on the services that are available. We've sent newsletters covering topics like stress management, working from home with children, building resilience, practicing mindfulness, how your physical health can help your mental health, and dealing with dependence issues. We've also sent links to the various webinars that Halcyon hosts each month. Especially during this time, they've done a couple webinars on mental and emotional health during COVID, coping with your daily stressors, and dealing with change, and tips to help you thrive during this period of what seems like constant change. These are confidential referral services, and I encourage our employees to reach out. I think that sometimes we forget that we have these services available, and sometimes it's nice to reach out to somebody who doesn't necessarily know our life story and can help us navigate some of our stressors without any preconceived ideas. So I certainly encourage our employees to take advantage of this. Mark, if you'll go to the next slide. So it's very easy to reach Halcyon. You can call them 1-888-HAL-4800, so 1-888-425-4800. Locally, it's 559-751-0015. And you can go on their website at halcyoneap.com and just type in the username EdCare. You do get 6 free counseling services each year for you and all of your dependents who are on your plans, your health insurance plans. And then after that, if there's additional services that you need, they would refer you back to our medical insurance plans for additional services.
Well, thank you, Vice Chancellor Mosier, for sharing that information. And I have a question. I think it's for you, but I also think it could be for Dr. Monsanto. So if you both could answer this, one of the questions that came through is, if I seek services, will anyone know? In other words, I think, people may be worried about confidentiality or people being judged, which I just want to say, mental health, we've got to get over this social stigma on it, because if you were to break your arm, you would go to the doctor to get your arm set. If you have a dental problem, you go to the dentist. We're all feeling anxiety. I've talked to a professional. I think we all should have an opportunity to do so. But first, Vice Chancellor Mosier, would anybody know if we have these services?
Absolutely not. We do not get any information about the employees that visit our EAP. So it is completely confidential. Unless an employee shares it with us, we will not know that they or any of their dependents have taken advantage of the EAP. And I'd like to echo very quickly what Carol said. I think it's really important to acknowledge when you yourself are feeling like this, and to share that, because I do think there is a bit of a reluctance still on the part of some people to take advantage of these services. And like Carol said, I have taken advantage of these services myself as well. And I think it's really important that you recognize when you might just need that and do that. But to answer your question, no, nobody will know.
Yeah, I think it's so important. We take our car to get in and get it fixed and get it serviced. So I'm just going to share right now, I routinely go in for check-ins and just see how I'm doing. Just like I check in with my dentist and I get my car checked, get me checked too, because the most valuable resource, this is for our students and our employees, the most valuable resource we have is you, and your most valuable resource is your health. So Dr. Monsanto, in terms of confidentiality from the students' point, could you speak a little bit to that?
Definitely. Everything is confidential. That we hold the highest standard of care when it comes to confidentiality and protecting all of the students that we see. Confidentiality is just such an important thing because it really sets the groundwork for all of the work that we do in therapy. If you're not feeling safe and you're not feeling that your information is protected, you're not going to want to share things with us. So we really drive home the point of confidentiality. We don't release any confidential information. The only time we do is with your permission, right? So if you say, hey, I want you to talk to my psychiatrist in the community, we'll have you complete a release of information that's a signed document, and that gives us permission to do that. We will only do that with a signed release of information. And you always, as a patient of ours, as a client of ours, you have the right to revoke that release of information at any time. So that being said, confidentiality is super protected. And, you know, sometimes people do try and push those boundaries, you know, and usually it's out of like the goodness of their heart. You know, we'll have a professor reach out and say, hey, you know, I referred a student over to you. How are they doing? All the time, we'll say, you know, we can't even confirm or deny that that person is even being seen here, as far as that conversation goes. So confidentiality is highest importance for us.
Well, thank you, Dr. Monsanto, and thank you, Julie Mosier. I think everybody, this is still kind of, there's some stigma still with people's health, and you know, we need to get past that. But as Dr. Monsanto said, you know, sometimes a faculty member may talk to you about these services. We're going to encourage you to go to them. That's not because we think something's wrong or you're bad. There's no judgment. We just want what's best for you. And as Dr. Monsanto shared with you, there is not going to be there's not going to be a follow-up report to your professor, your administrator. Same thing with Vice Chancellor Mosier. You know, if anyone should share with you, you know, maybe you should, you know, have you thought about talking to somebody professionally? There is no follow-up. That is strictly there for you and your health. And I do have another question, and I'm going to open this up to maybe some of our interns. We have a question from Vanessa. Vanessa says, what if you're a perfectionist and you're perfectionist who is a student, you only expect A's and you're very hard on yourself and it's hard online. How do you manage that stress? You have an interpreter? Or I'm sorry, one of our interns perhaps? Chelsea, it looks like you're wanting to answer.
Sure. You know, I think that's a really great question. And I think you have to kind of think about your well-being overall, right? So if getting that A is causing you so much stress and anxiety that you're feeling like it's overwhelming, maybe it's okay to take a step back or ask for some help or reach out for services that might help you to work through that. I know it's hard. I'm a perfectionist too, so I can relate. But yeah, sometimes you just have to take a step back and reprioritize things for yourself.
I have a weird pro tip for that.
Yes, please.
Actually, if you're finding yourself like super, you know, I have to make it perfect. It has to be just right for me to turn it in. I recommend that you get into a study group with other students and see the work that they're turning in.
Perfect.
And that way you can get an idea of like, okay, this is what most people are turning in. Do I really need to go above and beyond every single time? Or can I use that energy to help other students maybe make their papers a little better?
I think that's great advice. I mean, not every work is the next American novel. And I'm going to share a little tip with all of you students out there. I did not receive all A's. In fact, when I was in high school, I was not the student that a lot of people thought would go to college, much less run a college. So I'm here to tell you, yes, grades are important, but grades are not the only thing that you'll be viewed on later as you're looking for a job. And I think Vice Chancellor Mosier, I'm going to ask you, when we're looking at employment, do we look at grades or do we look at completion and did they finish school? What do we look at, Vice Chancellor Mosier?
Yeah, we don't look at grades. I mean, we see your degree. It's more about what you've done with the information you learned in school than the grades you got in any particular class.
So you heard it here, folks. You're hearing great advice from all of you. We want you to continue on. So I'm going to go. We just have a few more minutes. There's two more things we need to do before Dr. Massey is going to walk us through the website. But I wanted to let all of you know that through our Distance Ed, we have live scheduled open hours on Zoom for students to ask questions and answers. So this is wonderful news. It's hot off the press. And, we always have rocky starts in life. Sometimes last year we were looking for parking spaces. This year we had, some internet connectivity. And I know right now we don't have this wide viewership because I heard that half of Fresno is having internet problems. So we're going to record this and place this out. But did you realize that Rams are really good at one thing? And that's climbing Rocky Mountains. So we're going to climb this together. And so if you have any questions about Canvas or how you can get any of the different types of resources like we're hearing about today in student services, for psych service or even pantry services or tutoring or how to buy your books, or how to add a class like PE or yoga class, don't hesitate to join us. We're going to have a lot of Zoom open live sessions. And so check your Canvas portal page. They will be listed in the calendar under new student online readiness. And you can check those. I'm going to join a couple of them. There's going to be a lot of faculty involved. It's on your dashboard in Canvas. Zoom's mobile app is an easy way for you to connect to these as well. So you could have a Zoom mobile room. Your calendar will contain the specific ID because you need an ID to get into the Zoom room. And we're going to share some videos as we move forward. And so just wanted to let you know, we care about you. We care about your mental health. We care about your physical health. We care that you're being fed. We care that you're getting the classes that you need. And we know this has been an incredibly difficult time for our college, our community, and our nation. So let's have a little grace with one another. Sometimes your professors may have a hard time logging on too because their internet's down. You may have a little difficulty because you're taking care of kids or your internet's down. Our professors are committed to showing up and being the best versions of themselves and having grace, and we want you to do the same thing. So we're all going to have a little patience with one another. And speaking of patience, I know our website is incredibly, it's comprehensive, and some would say it's a lot. So that's why it's so important to go through your portal, and you can see a student hub. It helps it manage it. But Dr. Massey, could you go through and show us how do we go live to this website? Now, this is going to be fun, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to go live now, Mark. We're going to let her share her screen. Here we go.
Can you see it? We good?
I see it.
All right. So FresnoCityCollege.edu is our website, right? So that's the big website. You come all the way over here to Campus Life.
Yeah.
And then you go down to Health and Wellness, because that's what we're about.
Got it.
And you come on over here and you come down to Psychological Services. Boop.
Yeah.
There we are.
Boom.
So you scroll down
it.
a little bit and you've got information on our talking circles. You've got how we're closed because of COVID, right? Just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. You have the crisis services that we can't offer right now, but we do have information about like where to call, crisis lines, who to contact. So that's an immediate option. It's right there on the website. If you are a Fresno City College student and you want to sign up for therapy, the bullet point right under the crisis stuff, that online intake form right here, boop. So all you do is click on that and it'll pop right up.
There we go.
And it has our intake form. So you just go ahead and fill that out and we'll get it and we will contact you.
And how long is the wait time? I mean, am I talking like a week? Am I talking
usually
2 days?
it can be about a week depending. Right now we're in a bit of a transitional period. We're getting all of our new interns like up to speed. We're actually switching the program that we used to do our notes. So we're getting everybody up to speed on the new system, and then we're going to go ham on therapy. So it might be a bit of a wait right now because we're getting switched over to the new system, but trust that once we are all got our feet on the ground, we are going to be ready to rock.
All right. And I just want to remind all the students too right now, a lot of our new remote reality we find ourselves in, we are going to have to continue to practice little patience because there's a lot of things that we didn't have to wait for now that we do have to wait for. So what you're hearing today is that people are here and we care about you. Miss Mosier, got a question for you. If I'm an employee and I go to the employees benefit halcyon that you talked about, how long does it take? Maybe I'm the first time I've ever done it. I'm a new faculty, or even, maybe I've been here a long time and I've never done it, but now I'm feeling the need. How long does it normally take for somebody to actually get services?
You should get services the same day you call.
Okay. So we have a little shorter response time for the employees, a little longer for the students, but we're getting it shorter because it's the beginning of the semester. So I just wanted everybody to hear that. The answer is when you reach out and get help, you will get help here at Fresno City College.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in just really quick on that as well.
Sure.
So one thing that we do as well, if you submit the online form services for students, someone will contact you within 2 days to probably schedule you for your initial triage appointment. So you will be contacted quick, and your appointment will be set up for one of our interns or our practicum students, because we also have practicum students who can join us today who do services, will contact you. Also, I want to throw this out there, since there are staff and faculty and administration watching this forum, that my phone number is always open for consultations. So I know that wasn't in the PowerPoint, but if you need a consult on a student, or you need just a general site question, you can always call and I'll get back to you within a day. Usually when I get those consults, I will literally call within like a couple hours or a couple minutes, even from seeing that, because I check my email throughout the day all the time. So you can have that consult with me. You can call the main line and get a consult from one of our postdocs, or interns will be happy to assist you in a consult.
And I'm going to vouch for Dr. Monsanto because I recently called him on a unpublished number, and he called me back in record time. So it's not just, oh, I better call the president back. He didn't know who he was calling. So take the man at his word. I think today you heard a lot of good things from our people here who care. We really do care about you at Fresno City College and at all the colleges at the State Center Community College District. I want to thank my guest, Julie Mosier. Is there any last closing pieces of wisdom or words of advice you'd like to give either our students or staff? Vice Chancellor
Well,
Mosier.
I would just like to add that right now, I know a lot of us, especially our employees, are missing the social aspects of being on campus and being with our colleagues. So try to find ways to meaningfully connect with your colleagues and do something that is fun. I know that in our department meetings, we have done a virtual scavenger hunt, and we have done Zoom break meetings, and we're putting together our own department COVID playlist right now, motivational playlist. I have also, done some of my meetings as meetings and walks, so that I'm getting away from my computer and I'm still on my phone, but try to find ways to connect with your colleagues and still get that social aspect that I think a lot of us are missing right now. I know personally for me, that's huge for my mental health well-being. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us in HR or in our benefits department or our EAP if you need anything, or if there's just anything we can do for you.
Thank you so much. Great piece of advice. I mean, let's try to do things a little bit differently. I know I met with the deans today. We had a little different meeting as well. I like that idea of maybe we'll just take a phone meeting and I'll go for a walk. I like that. Dr. Monsanto and Dr. Massey, any last pieces of wisdom for anybody who's watching? And also, we're going to be recording this, so it will be played again, because I understand we're having some internet outage throughout the city.
I guess I would just like to echo, and this has been, I think, a theme throughout this presentation, is we really are there for you. We want to help in any capacity, whether you're a student, a staff, or a faculty member. We're here for you. And I think we pride ourselves on holding the highest standard of care. That's just something that we're constantly doing. We're constantly training. We're constantly getting new intervention methods, and just constantly updating our skill sets as clinicians and adapting to the culture and the times. So we're here for you. At the end of the day, we're here for you.
Great advice. Continue to adapt and become well-versed in new skills, and we're here for you. Dr. Massey, last words.
Just no judgment. We got you.
I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank my wonderful interpreters for always making us accessible and hopefully sounding wonderful. We love you. Thank you, Mercedes. Thank you, Mark Tabay, for putting this together. Thank everybody at the PIO office, Chris Monahan Brimmer, Kathy Bania, and the whole team. Thank you all so much. With that, we're going to leave. And remember, Rams, check your email because that's the official email that we share all this information. You're going to see a new email coming out from our online help desk. Again, live, scheduled open hours on Zoom for any student question you may have. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. Take care.